Okay, I got one for you today. It's interesting. It's been something I've been thinking about for a while, and it has everything to do with Apple being 20% of the market share and 80% of the profit in that market. And what I mean by that is what I keep hearing over and over and over and over again on video after video after video on YouTube. And don't get me wrong, um, I understand it simply because in the 2000s, Apple needed people that were willing to work for nothing to achieve their goal. And that's just called capitalism. And it actually, maybe it didn't backfire, but it did create something absolutely spectacular for China. And what it's done for China is totally turned the country around. People in China live better, they eat better, they they do better. You know, we have MIT in the United States of America. I live in Canada, so we have NAIT, we have SAIT, we have Ryerson. We have all kinds of engineering schools. We have all kinds of trade schools. We have everything. Do you know what the trade school is in China? The Apple Factory. I'm pretty sure you've seen a video on this, and if you haven't, well, I recommend you check it out because it's like astonishing. Like astonishing. Apple Watch, Apple phones. I'm reading off an iPad. So, anyway, like if you've hired people since 2000, 2001, whenever in China, and it's 2025, that puts you in like a 24, 23 year rotation of hiring people. And I think there's probably some original workers that work there. There's probably some people that have died that work there. There's probably some people that have retired working there. And, but they just keep pumping out the most intelligent people to build some of the most intricate little things, like anything Apple. Think about it. Their computers, what does Apple make? Just think about it: earbuds, earphones, headphones, iPads, Apple TVs, iMacs, iMac Minis, probably the displays, the Apple displays. I'm just going off the top of my head of things that they make. The watch, um, the phones, um, the laptops. I think I could go on, but it's all the things that I've ever owned. And I'm not exactly an Apple junkie. I've got a PC in front of me, an Apple over there. And the Apple that I've got over there is too old. It's like a 2012, and I can only get it to update to 2021. And you know what? It's just old. It's old and tiring. And it is what it is. But whatever. So this is where I'm going with this because you're probably tired of listening to Apple, especially if you're an Android user, which, a lot of the people in this world are. I was an Android user as well, just so you know, I'm not against them. I just prefer Apple because it communicates better with the shit in my house. So I asked Grok a question, and I just said to Grok, and this becomes more audio related. I said, is Chinese audio equipment junk? I think that was a simple enough question. Is it junk? No, Chinese audio equipment is not junk. While the stereotype of low quality made in China product persists from decades of cheap mass production imports, the reality in 2025 is far more nuanced and largely positive. China has become a global powerhouse in high fidelity hi fi audio, producing everything from budget earbuds to audiophile grade amplifiers and speakers that rival or outperform Western brands at a fraction of the cost. This shift is often called yeah, it's often called Chi-Fi, Chinese Hi-Fi. You've heard that term before, I have. And it's driven by innovative engineers, efficient supply chains, and direct to consumer sales that cut out marketing bloat. So, like, that's AliExpress. So, they're measurement driven, affordability without sacrifice. And then they give some examples here. Topping, DAX amps, headphone gear, SMSL, integrated amps and DAX, Fozzy Audio, budget amps, budget subwoofers, Custard, I don't know if I've heard of them, high-end DAX and streamers, Edifier, we've all heard of them, speakers and Bluetooth systems, Hi-Fi Man, you ever heard their headphones? I have. They're pretty good, planar headphones, and Moondrop, in-ear monitors, IEMs. Anyway, these brands dominate forums like Reddit, Budget Audiophile, and Audiophiles where report spectacular results. $109. Shaling portable DAC amp setups, trouncing a $400 Sennheiser rig. The flip side, not all Chinese gear is equal. Well, of course it isn't. Not all American gear is equal either. Bottom line, the Chinese audio equipment spans a spectrum of bargain bin, filler in the world performance. If you're shopping, prioritizing measurements, reviews from Audio Science and Reviews, then buy reputable centers far from junk. Chi-Fi re-energizes the hobby, proving that great sound doesn't require a luxury price tag or a Western passport, if anything. It's outdated snobbery that started to sound tiny. Interesting. Topping. Gives you a whole bunch of information on topping, but why does it stand out? Topping is a darling of the audiophile community for its transparent measurements, their amps, ultra low distortion, rivaling shit audio. I hate that name, shit audio, or person. The A30 Pro, user feedbacks, SMSL integrated. Like, it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, I asked a couple other questions too, but I think you get the point. I guess, here's the conclusion that the Chinese offer. In conclusion, the Chinese amplifier companies like Topping, SMSL, Fozzy Audio, and Gustard are far from producing junk. They are refined audio by offering high fidelity performance at an accessible price, often outperforming pricier Western brands in a blind test and measurements. While budget models may have minor build quirks, the overall quality, innovation, and value make Chi-Fi amps a go-to choice for audiophiles in 2025. If you're specific about what you're powering, headphones, speakers, I can recommend models and dig deeper because they can always dig deeper. Okay, what about the clone market? I asked about that, and sorry for not looking at the camera, but I'm reading. The clone market. Okay. The clone market, in context of Chinese audio equipment, often called Chi-Fi clones or reproduction amps, refers to amplifiers that replicate designs and schematics, aesthetics, and high and low Western or Japanese brands like Name, Accuphase, Mark Levinson, Goldmond, FM Acoustics, Burmaster, the Dart Zeal. These are typically sold on platforms like AliExpress, eBay, Alibaba for $500 to $2,000, a fraction of the original costs, say $10,000, while the legitimate Chi-Fi brand, Topping and SMSL, focus on original designs with their strong performance metrics. The clone segment is more a gray area, wild card. Part innovation, part imitation, and often a gamble. As for September 2025, this market remains active but controversial, fueled by reverse engineering circuits due to direct to consumer sales, Shenzhen factories. And then it tells you how the clone market works and, the goods, the bads, the uglies, the comparisons against legit chi-fi like SMSL, A300, name clone, musical measurements, worse, higher TH versus the real deal. The Goldman clone on AliExpress worth $800 won't match the Swiss original refinement. Performs, as in forms like that you read, consensus. They give us a couple, I can't even pronounce this stuff. It's a clone of a name, the NAC 12152 AP200. It's accurate and it's dual mono. That's all they say. Replica, the P75 replica of AccuPhase is $800 to $1,200. Clean, powerful component. The Mark Levinson clone, the number 23, is punchy and dynamic for rock. So, okay, the verdict, worth the risk. The clone market, affordability in the Wild West. Think of it as the Wild West of chi-fi. Yeah, the $700 Burmaster, which I've looked at, clone could be a thrill, and 70 to 80% as good for most. Stick to the original chi-fi Fozzy audio topping, measuring excellence in headphones and stuff like that. So it's basically telling you whatever's being bought on AliExpress is not good. Like if you're hitting 80% of a Mark Levinson, that's pretty good. But anyway, we could do this all day, but we're at 12 minutes and 39 seconds. So, I don't know. I just get fascinated by looking at this stuff. And when the Russian reviewer, I can't remember his name, but he goes through the Tone Winner factory, and my buddy owns some Tone Winner stuff, and it's actually quite remarkable stuff. And another buddy of mine in Toronto sells that stuff, and he claims it's remarkable too. He's also got his own house brand, which I actually picked up a piece from him for an obscenely good deal, and it's obscenely good. And I've done a review on it before. It is the A12 Generation 2 11-channel power amp that you can hook up to an AVR or a processor in your home theater system. And I find that, I was comparing it to Marantz. They wanted like $8,000 for their model. I compared it to some other stuff, and you just couldn't beat it for the price. And I said, hey, look, man, I said, is this really that good? Because I'm not in the, I don't buy junk. I have bought junk by accident, but if I can try and escape buying junk by asking honest questions, well, I ask the damn questions. You know what I mean? And anyway, that's just the way I'm going to put it. But how many of you guys out there have bought some of this chi-fi stuff? And what are your thoughts? Seriously, there's reviewers that review this stuff and they say it sounds spectacular. But what have they heard in the past? Do you know what I mean? Can you compare the Macintosh clones to the Macintosh? Especially like a 275 with tubes, Can you do that? If anyone knows anything, comment. Just comment. Drop me a line. That'd be really cool. Because this kind of stuff with tariffs and with the way the world's going, I mean, it's gonna start looking appealing. It's like working out of town for a long time, and all of a sudden, a waitress starts looking pretty good, and that waitress never looked good the first day you ever met her, but she starts looking pretty good, if you know what I'm saying. And that's a terrible analogy, but and I've worked out of town a lot, so I know the analogy. Anyway, you guys have a good day and drop some lines, man. I'd be curious to see what everybody thinks about Chi-Fi. I own some Chi-Fi. I own some DACs. I own some Chinese DACs that are spectacular. They're on that list too. So I'm glad I bought them. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. You have a great day.